Okay, so I'll start. So please tell us your name and how you came to live in Clear Lake.
My name is Karen Marie Fox Wienke, and I was born in Clear Lake.
All right. So how long have you lived in Clear Lake? Well, since you were born in Clear Lake, I guess, but
Well, I lived here until I went to college, and then when I married, I lived in Prescott, and then we moved to Forest, which is about 10 miles south of here. I did teach school here for 20 years.
what'd you teach?
Um, I was preschool and kindergarten, and sometimes first grade.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Do you have a favorite subject to teach?
Um, well, I like music, and of course, I pretty much taught all subjects until they introduced art, and we had specials then. But no, I not really. Maybe reading when I was in first grade, but I enjoyed all those ages.
What did your parents do for a living?
My dad was the manager of the creamery, which is not the creamery anymore. It was the Farmers Co-op Creamery back then, and we lived right there on the property. There was a house there, and the plant has taken over all of that area now. So the house was actually moved out of town. It's off probably a quarter of a mile, south of town.
Okay. What do you say took over that place? Like, do you know what?
Um, I've got it in my notes. I'm sorry.
No, it's
I can't
okay.
I can't remember. It was Land O'Lakes, and I can't remember
Sorry,
what.
I'm asking
What
questions
it's
that are
called
on the
now.
seat.
But you know, it's the big plant over by the water tower. I'm talking
AFP
about.
or
Yeah, what did you? Yeah.
yeah, AFP, Advanced Food Products.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
I just forgot what it was.
Okay.
All right. Did you have family traditions, and if so, which one would you say was your favorite?
Well, I don't even know for sure what you mean by traditions, but we did family trips. We did a lot of family gatherings together. We did shopping trips to St. Paul, Montgomery Wards back then. So that kind of thing, nothing too special, I guess.
Did you have a favorite place you went to, or?
We would go up to Port Wing for a week in the summer, which was a lot of fun. Probably not other than that.
Did you have any chores you really had to do around the house? And did you eventually have a job once you were got a little older?
I actually didn't do much. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, and I would do lawn mowing and wash the car, that kind of stuff, more than I did housework. I didn't do much in the house.
What would you say would be the biggest change that's happened to Clear Lake over the time you've been here?
A lot. I was born in 1938, so I'm very old. And where I grew up, the trailer court wasn't there. There was a railroad track that went right by the water tower there. There was a railroad station. 63 went right through town. I mean, I've got a whole list of things that have changed. Now, I don't know if they come up in the other questions or not. Did you ask me about jobs, too? I was a car hop. There was a livestock market, Pinky Martin's, where farmers would bring their cattle out on 63, and I did some car hopping there for serving people. I worked in a factory, the canning factory in Amory, and the creamery. I worked in the office there, and then when I graduated, I worked at Nash's Coffee until I went on to school.
Okay. Was there any like doctors or anything in town? Like, how was healthcare different?
Yes, we had Dr. Nielsen, Gaylord Nielsen's father, and my mother brought me there once, and I remember when I was quite small, and he put a thermometer in my mouth and disappeared and never came back again. So I went home. I don't know what was wrong with me, but it couldn't have been too serious. And then
Still here
Dr.
today.
Campbell also had an office here later on, and I would come to him.
What were your hobbies and interests growing up?
I love to sew. I love to read books, so I was really into that. That's about it, I guess, other than just having fun.
So, growing up, what did you do for fun besides those obviously hobbies you
okay.
said there?
Back then, you could ride bikes anywhere, so I was all over town on my bike, out in the country, 2 or 3 miles. Let me see what else I've got. Swimming down at the park was a big deal, and we would swim in the small lake, not the big lake, and there was a raft in the middle of the lake, and we had all kinds of fun out there. No adult supervision whatsoever. The skating rink was here, and there was ice skating rink that would be flooded in the winter right next to my house, so that was very handy. We had softball games, softball league actually, so that was going on during the week. There'd be games there. Movies at the town hall, and I think one of the things that kept us busy was the activities at school. And back then, we didn't have girls' sports, so it was all boys' sports. Let's see if there's anything else. There was Girl Scouts for me. And I think that might be about it.
You said movies at the town hall. Do you remember any of those movies? It's okay if you don't. If you can't remember, that's perfectly
Probably
fine.
not. But it was. I mean, I remember the music, which was Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. You probably don't
Yeah,
even
I
know
love
these
Sinatra.
people.
I love Sinatra.
Yeah, I did not have television at all when I was. No, I don't remember having television at all back then. I know that it was around because I'd go out to my cousins and I could see it there. Snowy black and white television was up.
What were like the gathering places around town where like kids hung out with each other?
Yeah, the hip spots.
M&M, which was where the mortuary is. It was next to the mortuary there, a little cafe. And that's where we went after school activities to get ice cream, that kind of thing. There was a drugstore on Main Street too, where they had a little counter where you could get like a cherry Coke or something like that. But other than the roller rink and I guess, I don't know.
You mentioned going on shopping trips. Like, where did you go shopping other than that drugstore, I guess? Assuming.
Oh, well, New Richmond, the closest place would be New Richmond. But we did go to the cities quite often. My dad had meetings down there, and then we'd get to go shopping. Montgomery Ward's was a big deal back then on University Avenue, and Dayton's downtown, and Donaldson's it used to be, Golden Rule, things you guys know nothing about, way, way back.
What school buildings did you go in, and what was it like?
You mean when I went to school here?
Yeah.
Okay. I was in the museum, of course, through 5th grade, and then to the old high school. And the athletic field was, of course, across the road there. So it's changed a lot. I mean, this building and the new elementary, too, I mean, it's wonderful. Very, very nice.
Yeah, this building was built way after you were out of high school, because that was
Oh, my
97.
gosh, yes. Yeah.
97, this one
I
was
mean,
built.
they remodeled the old high school. We didn't have that gym. We had a little cracker box for a gym. It was really small. And we didn't have, our class plays, we had junior and senior class plays, which you guys don't have anymore, do
No.
you? I think that's such a shame, because that was so much fun. And we go to the village hall, they had a stage there, so we used this stage there, and really look forward to, when I was in elementary, to going to watch the plays and then to be in the plays later on, so.
Do you remember when the Vietnam War started? What would you
Well,
say would
that's-
be the
that's a
yeah.
great
feeling
transition.
around the time?
I wasn't too interested in that, what was going on around me. I just knew that there was a lot of people that weren't supporting it and what was happening during that time. But my husband, I don't know what year was that. If I could put it together, he ended up going into the Army Reserves because he was afraid he was going to be drafted. And I don't know if that was the war that was going on then.
I assume that would have either been the Korean or the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
'Cause-
It must have been in the 50s.
So that would have been the
That would
Korean
be
War.
Korea.
Korean?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No.
That was kind of a weird transition to
Yeah, I'm
get you
sorry.
into.
No, that's okay.
How about let's get back to school stuff.
Okay.
Your teachers. Who did you have for teachers? What teachers did you like? What teachers did you dislike?
I pretty much got along with all my teachers. Yeah, it was, I loved school. I loved being with my friends and all the activities that went on. I don't know if there was anyone that really stood out. I remember Mr. Payne. I mean, you don't know any of these. Who would you know? You probably wouldn't know anyone. No, I don't. Long
We-
gone.
we
They're
might not-
probably long gone.
We won't know them, but you can still talk about them.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Allen was our band teacher, and on Memorial Weekend, our band would actually march from the Legion Hall all the way out to the cemetery. Now, I mean, it's so different because I think kids can elect whether or not they do the marching band, or am I wrong?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
I mean, it was mandatory back then. If you were in the band, you did all the activities that the band did. I didn't think about that question, actually, so.
All right. When you were growing up, did you think you were going to stay in Clear Lake, or did you want to go somewhere else, go see the world, that sort of thing?
No, I knew I wanted to go on to school, so that was in my plans, and pretty much was set on being a teacher. So, yeah, I didn't think I'd end up on a farm. That was not in my plans.
Do you remember any extreme weather events that happened while you were here, or?
Well, this isn't really a weather event, but the circus came to town, and it was right across from where I lived, down by the creamery. It was pasture across the road. They set the tent up there, but it was during the polio, when people were warned not to go out in crowds because polio was so prevalent back then, and so my mother wasn't going to let me go. And I begged and I begged and I begged, and she let me go. And thank goodness I never got polio, so.
Was there any notable crimes or violent crimes or major crimes that happened while you were in Clear Lake?
I don't think I had anything in my mind about that.
Yeah, Clear Lake's a pretty peaceful town when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well, back when I was here, I guess it was peaceful, or maybe I was protected from knowing what was going. We did have a little, whoops, down by the town hall, which it's across from the new library. That's what, our village hall, that's what I call it. There was a little box jail there, but I don't know that anyone was ever in it. I don't remember anything about that.
Let's see. You remember any big business closings that happened beside that during your time? Like the creamery, of course. But
Yeah, that was after I left, actually, that all that happened, so I wasn't around. Well, I mean, I was out in the country, but yeah, all of that changed.
Did you ever meet or know Burley Grimes or Gaylord Nelson?
I probably did meet Gaylord Nelson at some point, but not really. No.
because his father was the doctor, you said, right?
It was the father, his father. Yeah, he was very old when I was going to see him.
For any future relatives who may be watching this in the future, is there anything that you'd like them to know about you, your life, or just the town in general?
Let me see what I. No, I was going to share that my mom and dad were married at the Polk County Fair, and that was back in 1931. They entered a contest. Actually, her sister submitted them to be married there, and they won the contest. And I brought a picture. I don't know if you're supposed to do this or not, but of their wedding at the fair. And they gave her her dress to wear and some little prizes that she won. But anyway, that was kind of a big deal for us back then. And then 50 years later, they celebrated again, kind of a reunion at the fair again. So then we got to go and be part of it too. So that was a fun occasion for us.
I've never heard of anyone getting married at the fair like
I've
that
never heard
before.
of it again. No, I haven't. I don't know whose idea that was, but it was fun for them.
On the topic of the fair, actually, how has that changed over the years?
Well, we've even had a fair back when I was younger, and it was all 4-H. Well, it probably still is. That's probably true. But we had basket socials and square dancing. I don't know if they do that anymore.
I haven't seen a square dance.
Oh, it was so much fun. No, that was a lot of fun too. To go, and I wasn't part of 4-H, but my cousins were, so I got to participate with that.
Is there any other topics you would like to share? In your notes?
Well, you still do homecoming parades.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes, we do.
Do the classes have floats?
You can, but you can choose if you want to or not, and most of them don't.
No, because we would decorate floats, chicken wire, toilet paper poked in there, and crepe paper and all that stuff, and there were, they would give prizes for the best, and I mean that was a lot of fun.
The senior class is pretty much the only one that does that now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
you get the senior class and all the sports teams.
I know way back when I was teaching, we used to, be up there to see the parades, and I thought, well, this doesn't compare to what we used to do. But see, it's different when you're part of it, because it seems like it's so much better than, maybe it's not, but it did back then.
What are those other things you got there with you?
I didn't know if you wanted me to show anything, but
perfectly fine.
this was in my annual, and it's just some pictures of Clear Lake back then, and the school, and what Main Street looked like, and that kind of thing.
Could you move those a bit to the right, please, so we can
Oh,
have them
sorry.
on camera? Thank you.
And my mother grew up in Clear Lake. She went to school here too, and this was her family. There were 14 in her family, so
Oh my.
quite a few of them stayed around here. So I did have cousins here too. I brought a picture of myself when I graduated. I guess you can tell those are all guys, so not too hard to pick out which one it is.
What year did you graduate?
56. It's a very small class.
So graduating when you did, was it expected that you would become a wife, or did you know you wanted to go I mean, you said you wanted to be a teacher, but was it more so expected of you to become a wife, go straight into marriage when you graduated?
A lot of the girls did. And I met my husband in school, so he was a year ahead of me. And I started going with him when I was a sophomore in high school. So I expected to get married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what I meant to phrase that as, was it more, were you more so expected to become like
I
a
think so.
stay-at-home mother?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Like, did other
Maybe.
people expect that of you?
Yeah.
my
That's what
husband
you're saying.
That's what,
expected
I'm
that of
sorry,
me,
I
I
phrased
guess.
that poorly.
No, yeah, maybe. Yeah, you could be right. I think more women did stay home with their kids.
Do you have a bet? We should have prepared better.
Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. I jumped around so much. I don't know what I
It's
left
no
out
problem.
or not.
Oh, you're doing great. You're telling your story, and that's a good thing.
So I remember when I brought up the Vietnam War, you said you weren't really focused on like events outside of your own life. Would you say that was in general more the case back then? And like has that changed now? Or was that more so a you personally sort of thing?
Maybe it could have been just me. I don't know. I had this down in my notes too. I think somewhere. We had Skywatch, and maybe that was way back in the 50s, and they built a room on top of the village hall, and you would sign up to go up there and sit, and you were looking for airplanes, enemy airplanes, which is laughable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Flying over, and then you were supposed to call a number if you saw any foreign object in the sky. So I mean, never was scary or anything. We had a good time up there watching for flying objects.
Oh yeah. So in the situation of a nuclear attack, what were you personally taught to do?
Just, I don't think we even had anything like that. I'm thinking back when I was teaching, you just went under your desk or something. No, I don't remember doing anything like that. And of course, recess, we were all over the play yard. There was a corner of the play yard had trees, and we were climbing trees. And I don't know if we had anyone out there with us. We probably did, but.
Kids nowadays aren't allowed to climb
Yeah.
trees.
Oh, I know. I mean, you can't do anything anymore.
Actually,
Basically.
Actually, speaking of nowadays, is there any sort of thing that you think you got away with back then that a kid would not
Oh,
have
totally.
been able to get away with today?
Since my dad wasn't the manager of the creamery, I got to run all over the creamery. And I mean, you can't do that in a factory anymore. I would go in and watch them wrap butter by hand, and I could roller skate when they would empty the warehouse. Then I had that whole big area to roller skate in, and there was a downgrade from the boiler room. I was up in the boiler room, and I could zoom down into the warehouse, and it was so much fun. So that you could not get by with. And they would lift me up on top of the boxes of butter and take me down to the warehouse. I get to ride up there. So the guys that worked there were very kind, patient people.
Earlier you mentioned like music, like Frank Sinatra and stuff. Do you remember listening to the radio and just like having favorite songs or?
I remember listening to Let's Pretend and Suspense, I think, something like that. Yeah, it was always radio, and I think it was so good because your imagination provided, what you needed for background. So I thought Let's Pretend would be on television when television happened, and of course it wasn't.
Speaking of television, when was the first time you ever had a TV in your house or saw one in general?
Well, I did say my cousins had one, and my dad would go out there to watch wrestling.
Yeah.
And the picture was horrible.
Yeah.
Snowy, black and white. I don't remember when I actually got my first one. It's probably after I was married.
Do you guys have anything else you want to ask?
I don't think so. I think that's all our questions.
Oh, well, it was nice to meet you guys.
It was very
Yeah,
nice
thank
talking to you.
Thank
Is there
you.
any other last minute things you'd like to bring up that we didn't ask you about?
When I was doing this, I was thinking, if I had it to do over in my life, I would keep a journal. Because it's hard to remember. You think you're going to remember events and things that happen, and I've forgotten so much. And I did talk to my brother and my sister who grew up here, and that was kind of fun too. They could remember some things that I had forgotten. So.
Yeah, that's a pretty smart thing to do. Keep a journal. So that way
Yeah.
you can actually remember things.
I know.
All right.
Okay.
All done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
If you did change your mind and you wanted lemonade or cookies, they're in the library.